Hello there. I hope you're having a good day. Mine's off to a pretty good start. However your day's going, I hope you have room for drama. Hope you're okay with sipping on some tea. Because some of you out there may remember that there was supposed to be a tabletop RPG for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon universe. There were a few images that came out, some limited information, and then it got canned. Well, the company that was making that is now trying to sue Netflix. And it's dramatic, it's spicy, and we're gonna get into it. So before we dive in, I'll tell you what I knew before this article came out by Gizmodo. That there was work on something, and that Netflix had some of its internal stuff leaked, being images from the book and some artwork and such. And so they were very unhappy with the leaks internally, so they squashed the whole thing and it was canceled. However, it looks like there's a chance that the tabletop RPG might be coming out. Let's just get into it. So Evil Genius, the name of the company, is suing Netflix over a canceled Rebel Moon tabletop RPG, which is what TTRPG stands for. Some people were confused. They thought it was like a Cyberpunk 2077 video game. I would love a AAA Rebel Moon game, but that would take like so many years and so much money. That would be coming out by like 2030. So basically, the tabletop role-playing game Evil Genius publisher filed a lawsuit against Netflix for a breach of contract, which is ironic since their stuff was squashed for breach of contract. They were hired to create a franchise for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, and they say that after working alongside Netflix and Snyder, Netflix unceremoniously got rid of its contract. Basically, the company says that they lost out on other work by prioritizing Rebel Moon work because they were trying to get it out at the same time as the movies coming out. They said, that Snyder had been praising their work 6 months ago, saying that he was having a good time, that it was a ridiculous scale, it was immersive and intense. And according to David Scott, the founder of Evil Genius Games, they were having daily interactions with Zack. When their stuff got shut down in May of 2023, the tabletop RPG was nearly done with 2 sellable products, a 430-page player's guide, which is like you'd read that to make your character, pick your weapons, your armor, and stuff like that, and a 337-page game master's guide, which is what the big dork behind the screen sees so that he can see all the enemy stats and the storyline that he's taking you on and yada yada. I'm trying to put in some less jargony terminology here as well. This is the part that I think people who don't necessarily play tabletop games, I think, would have been stoked about this regardless. There was a Rebel Moon World Bible detailing original details about the setting and characters of Rebel Moon, which was being used as a reference for Evil Genius during development of their 2 other books. So basically, this company, Evil Genius, has done stuff for Rambo, Godzilla, The Crow, and Escape from New York, which, by the way, I didn't know that. I like all of those things, so I'm going to be checking them out. And the Rebel Moon stuff was using their Everyday Heroes system, which is sort of like D&D has a formerly copywritten, now the 5e version is fair use forever. There's a whole thing about it. I'll link a video below if you want to learn about that, because I didn't know about that stuff. I'm not big into the D&D world, but I know people who are. And basically companies and people come up with copywritten or specific internal systems that make the tabletop gameplay feel the way it's supposed to feel. Is it supposed to be like Call of Cthulhu? You're very weak and vulnerable, so you're always scared because it's horror, right? But, in other systems where you're supposed to be sort of protagonist syndrome, you're a little bit more robust in a power fantasy. So there's different dice rolls. It's a whole thing. Netflix terminated their agreement because of the breach of contract, alleged, because apparently we're not supposed to say it for sure happened. 2 Netflix employees distributed images in a February trade show and uploaded 2 non-final teaser cover images, which I've seen a lot of, and I remember people saying, hey, that looks a little bit generic. And frankly, I was like, I kind of thought it looked a little generic too, Like there were some elements to it, like the evil chick with the cape looked cool. There were certain characters that looked dope, but there were some elements to it where it just felt less. It didn't feel cohesive yet. So it's actually really relieving to know that that was temporary art, and it makes me wonder how badass the final art was going to look like. Like now I'm really upset about that. But the internal documentation and the unfinished cover images were uploaded to a retail site for pre-orders, but because of an administrative error was accidentally portable to the public, which, believe me, having worked in web design stuff for a hot minute, it's shockingly easy to make something that only is supposed to be visible internally, visible externally. I believe it. It's believable. It's a good lie if it is a lie. So Netflix basically said, hey, no, we're not doing this, but we'll pay you like 50 grand for the use of that world Bible you made for Rebel Moon, and we'll just use it internally on our own stuff. Like, you know, the animated stuff they're talking about doing, the TV shows, the video game that is coming out, the mobile game, and stuff like that. And basically Evil Genius was like, that doesn't cover the full cost of the effort we put into this, and we had other offers to make tabletop RPGs for other brands, and we turned it down because we were too busy cranking out Rebel Moon stuff. We're trying to hit that December deadline. And so basically they still want to be able to publish it because like it's done. They were finishing up, editorial and layout, but all of the the art was nearly done, the written stuff was done, and they were just doing final draft revisions. And as someone who's publishing a book, the first of 3 I have planned, I can tell you that writing it is just part of it. Then there's editorial, then there's revisions, then there's, graphic design, then there's layout, then there's making sure that you cited there's so much more. It's a college paper on steroids. Says, our aim is to ensure our team is recognized for their fantastic work, that we can release the game for millions of tabletop RPG enthusiasts to enjoy. It's disheartening to see Netflix backpedal on content that was jointly showcased and had received their prior consent. We urge our supporters to make contact to Netflix and Zack Snyder to push for the release of this game. According to a complaint, Mr. Snyder and multiple Netflix executives routinely praised their work and was so enamored with the word Bible that he indicated that he planned on incorporating substantial elements of it into the Snyderverse. I think it's funny that the two brands that Netflix has tapped to make Zack Snyder stuff has been Evil Genius and Super Evil Megacorp. Like, I don't know if they're trolling, like, that Zack Snyder was evil Warner Brothers narrative, but, I mean, it's kind of funny. So, yeah, it's messy, right? It's a messy situation. It looks like basically through some bungles at Evil Genius, some stuff was leaked ahead of time, and some, incomplete things, no less. Netflix got upset about that. They expected a certain degree of professionalism, and so they punished the group by being like, all right, we're not paying for it, but we'll pay you for the one book that we can still use. And the company that they had hired was like, no, we sacrificed a lot and we did a lot of work, and that's not going to cover the work we did. Just let us release the thing. Like, they chose not to do it. In fact, they said, let me look at it. Evil Genius had been confident. The reason they turned down the $50,000 is because they were confident that the game would have sold millions of dollars worth of product. So this is already saying that Rebel Moon would have been a multi-million-dollar net profit franchise on tabletop RPGs alone. That's not even counting movies, toys, shirts, all the stuff you can get at Target already. And frankly, I agree, because nerds love tabletop stuff. This company has an existing audience space outside of Zack Snyder fans, just people who like their stuff, like they jive with that. And Zack Snyder fans love stuff. Like, Zack Snyder fans raised buttloads of charity money, right? Like, even if you think, oh, it's just 5 people with 1,000 burner accounts, okay, well, they're still providing money. So if you have 5 millionaires funding your franchise, does it matter as long as you make money and dope shit? And frankly, I like dope shit. So keep making it, man. Keep making that. So maybe we should do something, What is it? Like, you had released the Snyder Cut. What would it be? what would you call that? Tabletop RPG? Release the tabletop game? You gotta have like a, an alliteration or a jingle, a title, something to it. It's gotta be snappy. I'll let you guys figure that out. Because genuinely, I think maybe this should be the next big thing that people hop on, Like, we're waiting for more Rebel Moon news until the next Netflix Geeked event. Let's make some noise, Let's get this game released, all right? I think we could do it. I really do. So, let's see. If we were able to convince Warner Brothers to release a movie made by a person that they have, like, a fucking blood feud with for some goddamn reason, surely we can convince Netflix, who actually likes Zack Snyder, to just release the game that has already been made, right? We released a movie. Surely we can release a game that's already done. Let's get on it, guys. Let's come up with a quippy hashtag. Let's make some waves. Let's get these people paid. Let's mend some bridges. Let's do it. Let's do some good. And at the same time, I think we can get some cool shit out of that. Like tabletop games and, a world Bible. I want that world Bible. I want to pick it up and pray to it. I won't really. That's just kind of a joke. But I will read it because that's what I do with books. I'm very smart like that. Let me know if you guys would play this. If you wouldn't, would you still check out the World Bible? And do you think there's any chance that we could do something? What would you call the movement that we would use online to get that accomplished? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. And of course, as always, check down below for a link to the Autumn Snyder Tribute Fund at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We've saved lives through this fundraising event. Let's not stop. Every day that we can, raise even just a couple extra dollars, that's another person we can be saving. Keeping people alive out there, man. That's what real heroes do.